Hello everyone, good afternoon. In this occasion, we will be presenting about our final exam on Enterprise Network about Nextcloud and also Free Radius. And starting from me, my name is Bagus Ananda Nosa Putraditya. I'm from 3 IKI class with student number 23-1509-1041 and my colleagues.
Okay, my name is Putu Satya Giridharma. My last four digit of my student number is 1084.
Okay, my name is Desak Nyoman Novi Suryawati with student number 231-509-1090 from 3 IKI class.
Alright, that was our member, and to start, we will be explaining about the theoretical first, about the Docker Compose itself, and then on the last part, we will be demonstrating about the Nextcloud and also the Free Radius. So please start.
Okay, thank you for the time. I will explain to you the configuration of the LDAP. Is the screen visible?
Yes, it's good.
Okay, so here's the Docker Compose configuration for the LDAP. So first, I will explain to you about this section. So this section is the container that name LDAP. Second is the image of the LDAP. So this using the latest version of Osisia/Open LDAP image to run the LDAP server. Open LDAP is an open source implementation of the widely used LDAP protocol. Next is the restart unless stop. This means the container will restart automatically unless manually stopped. Next is the environment. So in the environment here is a set of some environment variables to configure the LDAP server. I will explain one by one. First one is the LDAP organization, domain, and the base DN. So these are environment variables that configure the organization, domain, and base DN, or distinguished name for the LDAP server. Next is the LDAP admin password. So this sets the password for the LDAP administrator account. Next is the LDAP read-only user. So this enables the read-only user for the LDAP access. And then lastly, the TLS settings. So these are the TLS certificate for secure communication. Next is the command. So this command tells the LDAP server to run the info logs level and to copy the configuration service on startup. Next is the volumes. So there are three sections here. So the first one is a volume for storing LDAP data persistently. The second one is volume for store LDAP server configuration files. And last is for provide the certificate for TLS, which is used for secure communication. Next is the hostname. So this sets the container hostname as LDAP. And then lastly, the networks. So this means connect the container to the Nextcloud network so it can communicate with other services in the Docker Compose, such as Nextcloud and Nextcloud DB. Okay, that's the explanation for the LDAP. Next, I will tell you guys how to install the free radius. Okay, so here's the free radius server for the Docker Hub. So what is the free radius server? So free radius is a network authentication server commonly used for authenticating users via radius protocol. Although free radius is not integrated with Docker Compose file, it can be run separately using Docker. So how to use this image? Step 1. Running the FreeRadius server container. To run FreeRadius on Docker, use the following command to pull and run the container. So I will explain the commands. So this section is the name of the container, name MyRadius, and then min-d is to run the container in detached mode or in the background. For your information, FreeRadius container will run with the default configuration, meaning there are no user defined, and it only accepts client from 127.0.0.1 or the local host. For production use, you will need the clients in the client's configuration file and users in the user file located in mods config/file/authorize. Okay, step 2 is defining the local FreeRadius configuration. To configure FreeRadius according to your needs, you can create a Docker file that copies the server configuration files into the container. So from this line of code, we can see that this section is used the latest FreeRadius image, and the second one is to copy the RADDB directory from your local machine into the container. So this directory contains the FreeRadius server configuration. Okay, so I will explain the example of configuration file. In the client's configuration, it contains the client definition that can access the server. So here's the example of the client definition. So basically, the users located in mods config/file/authorize. So it defines the users who can be authenticated by FreeRadius. So here's the example of the test user Bob with password test. Okay, so next is step 3, building the FreeRadius Docker image with local configuration. After preparing the Docker file and local configuration files, run the following commands to build the Docker image. So these commands will build a new Docker image named MyRadius image with your custom configuration. Step 4 is running FreeRadius container with local configuration. So once the image is built, you can run the container and expose the requirement port. So basically, this option expose the ports 1812 for authentication and 1813 for accounting using the UDP protocol. Step 5 is testing FreeRadius authentication. So you can test the FreeRadius authentication by using the rat test utility. So this is the example of testing user Bob with the password test. So if the authentication is successful, you should receive an access accept response. Step 6 is running in debug mode. For troubleshooting purposes, it's a good idea to run FreeRadius in debug mode, which provide a detailed log output. So use the following commands to run the FreeRadius in debug mode. So I will explain a bit in this section. This flag enables the debug mode, which shows detailed logs to help you diagnose any configuration and authentication issues. Okay, that's all the explanation about LDAP and the installation of FreeRadius. I will give the time to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay, so the next one is about the Nextcloud app itself, and also the database which we used are MariaDB, which is also similar to MySQL and which will be explained by my colleagues. So please.
Okay, is it visible?
Yes, it's good.
Okay, first I wanna explain about Nextcloud first. So, we use Nextcloud container name Nextcloud is specify the name of the container to be created, which is Nextcloud. So this name useful for easier identification of the container when running. Okay, the image we use is Nextcloud. This image specifies the Docker image to be used for creating the container. In this case, the official Nextcloud image is pulled from Docker Hub. This restart instructs Docker to always attempt to restart the container if it fails even after the host is rebooted. Okay, next we use port 800 and 18. 800, the port on the host machine used to access the application, and the 80, the port inside the Nextcloud container that provide the HTTP interface. Okay, links Nextcloud DB. It connects the Nextcloud container to another database container named Nextcloud DB. Internal Nextcloud can recognize this database container by the name Nextcloud DB. The volumes. Nextcloud is the name of the volume defined in Docker. And for www and HTML is the location inside the container where the Nextcloud application stores its files. Okay, the environment. We use 4. The first is MySQL password. The password to access the database that we use Nextcloud 123. MySQL database, the name of the database to be used. So the next is MySQL user, the username used to access the database, and the MySQL host, the address of the database host. In this case, we use Nextcloud DB, which is the name of the connected database container. The last one is networks. Specifies a custom Docker network named Network Nextcloud, where the Nextcloud container will reside. Okay, next. After this, I want to explain Nextcloud DB, the database about this project. Docker Compose configured for a MariaDB container. The first is next container name. We use Nextcloud DB. This name makes it easier to identify and manage the container. Next is image. In this case, we use official MariaDB image, a popular open source database system that is a fork of MySQL. So the restart ensure that container is restarted automatically if it stops or fails, even after the host machine is rebooted. Okay, command is the transaction until this committed sets the transaction isolated level to read committed, which ensure that only committed data is read, reducing the risk of reading uncommitted or inconsistent data. And binlog until row, configure the binary logging format to row, which logs changes to individual rows instead of SQL statement. This is often required by Nextcloud for features like file locking. Okay, the volumes. The first is Nextcloud DB. the name of the volume in Docker, and then for lib MySQL, the location inside the container where MariaDB stores in data. The next is environment. We use for environment. The first is MySQL root password, the root password for the database. This is the highest privilege account. So the password is Nextcloud123. MySQL database, the name of the database to be created automatically during installation. In this case, we use Nextcloud. MySQL user, the username for a non-root user to be created. In this case, we use Nextcloud. MySQL password, the password for the non-root user. Okay, networks. Networks specify the custom Docker network in which the database container resides. This enables secure communication between the database and the Nextcloud container. Okay, that's all for me. Next, explained by Nosa.
Okay, so that was all the theoretical stuff. Now let's get into the practical or the demonstration. So I will demonstrate everything that was said on the Docker Compose itself and also the free radius. So let me share my screen right now. Whole screen. Okay, so it's visible, right?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Okay, so this all Docker Compose is well explained by my colleagues. Everything from the LDAP account manager, the LDAP itself, the Nextcloud DB, and also the Nextcloud app itself. We use volumes for a persistent data and also a networks to make sure that every container is connected to the same network and can communicate with each other. So that's important. Okay, now I want to demonstrate how to build and deploy a free radius container using Docker. So like I explained before, in the Docker Hub documentation, I followed it. I follow everything that the documentation provides. So from the Docker file itself, so copying from the radiusdb folder right here, I already made the folder, and also pulling from the official free radius server image. Also the clients.configuration file and authorize. So this is where all of the users that we want to authorize, we put it right here. Okay, so let's just now put it to the test. Let me just open the terminal with control backtick on VS Code. Let me just make sure clear. Okay. So we want to build the free radius image first. So I have the documentation up here. So I'm just gonna copy the command. So over here, okay. Let me just copy this and delete the $sign. So building the local image with the name MyRadiusImage from the Docker file, which is provided over here. Okay, so I'll just build this. Just wait for a moment. And there we go. So let me just check on Docker images. And this is the image that I recently created, the MyRadius image. So now we will run the container with that image. So this is how you'll run it. I'm just going to copy from the documentation and run it with the name MyRadius on port 1812 to 1813, and using the MyRadius image that I created, and just run the container. And now what we will do is, let me just kill this for a moment and add a new terminal for the Ubuntu or the WSL, Windows Subsystem for Linux terminal over here, like this. And what we want to do here is to test whether all these users is already accepted. So that's what we get from the documentation. So it should be returned as access accept. So let's put it to the test. I will test all of this user. So let me just copy the command over here. Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Hold on a moment. Okay. Let me just test from OCHA. As you can see here, access accept. So the user is accepted. Let's try Wahyu. Wahyu as well is access accepted. That's good. And lastly, Novi. There we go. All user is accepted and ready to go. So that's basically the free radius image or container that we follow from the Docker Hub documentation. So yeah, it's pretty easy. And that's the free radius. Now next is the LDAP. So the LDAP is already inside this Docker Compose and also the Nextcloud, I forgot to mention. All of the LDAP and also the Nextcloud is on this one Docker Compose file. So I just need to build this Docker Compose and all of the container will be running at the same time. So let's just do that right now. Open the terminal again, back to PowerShell. Let me just clear this. So from this Docker Compose, I want to build a new container. So with the command docker compose up -d detach to run it in the background. So like that, and we will build all of the images. So all with the volume and also all the container is started. So let me just check that on Docker container, Docker desktop. Here we go. All of the services on that Docker compose is built and run at the same time. So we don't need to run it one by one. So we can use Docker compose to make it easier. So from the LDAP, the Nextcloud DB, the LDAP account manager, and also the Nextcloud application itself. Now what we need to do is access the Nextcloud and also the LDAP account manager on the local host of our web browser. So let me just do that and pull this in. Okay. So the container is on localhost 8000 and 8001. Let me try that. Localhost 8000. There we go. And localhost 8001. There we go. So first, we're going to create a new admin account on Nextcloud. So let's, for example, I want to create Nextcloud with a password. Password is Nextcloud123, for example. Install Nextcloud. This is the first step of installing the Nextcloud. Okay. So we just wait for a moment. Okay. Okay, we're in. Here we go. Just wait for a moment again. A lot of installing. Okay. Okay, this take a while. Let me just get a drink. Okay. I mean, I can just install this recommended apps if I want to, but I'm just gonna skip it to make it faster. Okay, so we are in Nextcloud. Now what we want to do is install only Office so we can access document on Nextcloud itself. So this is the administrator account. Make sure you are in an administrator account, because if you use a normal user account, you cannot add application from the App Store. So let me just do, oh wait, the facecam is, okay. So go from the profile, go to apps. Wait for a moment. And we are in the App Store. So you want to go to Office and Text, and then go to here, install Community Document Server, download and enable. We wait again, a lot of waiting. Okay. Only Office, yes. Just have to wait. Yeah, this takes a while, so just please wait. Okay, this takes a while. Okay, just wait. It'll work. Well, you know what? While I'm here, I'm just gonna go to the LDAP account manager so we don't wait a long time. So this is the LDAP account manager. So this is where we'll create all of the user to get into the Nextcloud. So we want to log in here with the password. Ooh, it's lagging a bit. Okay, we're in. Is it done? Okay, it's done. So that's one, the community document server, and lastly the Only Office app. Let me just search it. Only, there we go. Download and enable. They should be faster. There we go. Okay, so that's all the Only Office app that we need, so we can open document directly on Nextcloud. And we also want to activate a feature for the LDAP. So we can here we go. LDAP user and group backend. So we can use LDAP to authenticate user into Nextcloud. So let me just enable that. There we go. It's enabled. That should be good. And let me test now the Only Office. Can we open a document on here? So if we add a new document, as you can see here, there are several document type. You can use a Word, a docx, a PDF, a presentation, and also a spreadsheet. So that should be good. So let me just try and open this file. And there we go. Only Office is working. This is a docx file, so I can edit directly here. For example, hello world. This is Nextcloud Only Office. Cool. For example, like that. So Only Office is working, and also the LDAP I already installed. So now let's get into the LDAP account manager. So this is where we'll add the user for the Nextcloud to authenticate. Okay, so first you go to tools, and then OU editor, or organizational unit editor. So let me just add, for example, a group, the name of the group. Okay, I already added a new OU, and then you go to groups, new group, for example, group Nextcloud, for example, and then save that. And now what we want to do is add the users. So let's go to users, and this is where we'll add the user. So click on new user. So I'm just going to add the last name to make it quick. So for example, my name, Ocha, and then the suffix, the group. So make sure you are in the group or the OU that we created recently. Let me just check this. It's good. Now set password for the user. Over here, I have a password. For example, like that. Oops. Wait, I want to make sure. Okay. There we go. Okay. Save one, and then the next one, create another user. Wahyu, for example. Group. Okay. Set password. Okay. There we go. Create another one. Novi. Then make sure this is okay. Set password again for each user. Cool. Okay. Okay. So that should be all of the user. So our group consists of 3 members, so we have 3 users. Okay, so that's all in the LDAP on creating the account. And now what we want to do is connect the Nextcloud with the LDAP itself. So you go to administration settings. We use the previously installed apps, which is called the LDAP integration over here. Okay, so on the host name, what we want to use is the container name of the LDAP itself. In my case, it's called LDAP. So let me just copy that and paste it here. Detect the port. The port is 389. So let me just check over here. So it should be the port is 389, something like that, with the LDAP itself, not the local host, but the LDAP is running on a port 389, something like that. Okay, it is good. Now for the user DN, let me just type a cn admin dc. The domain, for example, my domain com. For the password, save credentials. Okay. And for the one base DN per line, let me just copy this part, paste that, detect it, and then test. And there we go. Configuration okay, so this is good. Let me just continue again. And this is where we'll verify the settings and the user count. So because we have 3 users over here, user count is 3. When I verify over here, it should appear 3 users. So let me just try one time, and there we go. 3 users found. So that's good. Continue again. So let me just test the login name. The login name, we use the username for each of the users. So let me try from Novi, for example. Let's try Novi, verify settings, and there we go. User found and settings verified, so that's good. Let me try Ocha, user found, and lastly Wahyu. There we go. All users are found and settings are verified. So let me just check if I use a user that is not on the LDAP list, it should appear an error. So for example, Naruto, for example. There we go. User not found because the user is not registered on the LDAP itself. So that's good. Let me try once again. There, user found and settings verified. That's good. Continue. And that's it. That's the configuration on the LDAP and Nextcloud. So both of the services are now connected with each other. So the user over here should be able to log in to Nextcloud as the user. To prove that, let's try that out. Let me just log out of Nextcloud real quick. Now let's try to log in with each of the users. So starting from me, using the password that we created on the LDAP account manager. Okay, and there we go. Successful. Hey, hold on. Okay, it's successful. Everything's good. Good afternoon, Ocha. That's me, the user, and this user can also use only Office. So as you can see here, and go to documents and edit a docx file. And as you can see, only Office is working perfectly. Okay, so that's the first user. Let me try the other 2. For example, Novi. Log. Okay, wrong password. Okay, let me just go over here. I think I typed the wrong password. Okay, I have the password over here. Let me just copy this. Okay, go back here again. So you can change the password. I'm just gonna show you over here. Just paste the password. Save. Okay, now for Wahyu. Just want to make sure that everything is correctly configured. Okay, set password again. Save. Okay. Let's try again. Let me just refresh this. Novi. Let me just copy paste from here. Okay, should be good. Yes, everything is good. There we go. Novi is in. Okay. Novi's user is good. Novi can also check for documents because we have only Office installed. There we go. It's good. Now let's try the last user, which is Wahyu. Wahyu. Login. Hey, we're in. Okay. So all of the 3 users that we created here successfully log into Nextcloud with a password that we set over here. So that's good. Wahyu can also check for documents like this using only Office. So all of the only Office is working properly. And yeah, that's good. Everything. So now the Nextcloud and the LDAP is connected with each other. So you can create user over here and use that user credential to log into Nextcloud over here. That's good. Everything is good. So I just want to show you and to prove it to you that these 2 containers is communicating with each other on the Docker logs. So let me just check the logs over here. So you can check the logs by clicking on the container itself and then logs. So let me just see here. So previously I logged in using a Wahyu's user. As you can see over here on the line that I highlighted over here, the response is accept from, this is the IP of the Nextcloud container. So the Nextcloud container is requesting to the LDAP container this user, Wahyu's user. So it is asking, hey, is there a user named Wahyu in your directory, for example? And then LDAP responded with, yes, there is a user with the name Wahyu. So it'll accept those requests. And it is the same for each user. So for example, here Novi, accept from Novi, accept from Wahyu again. So that is the log. So just to prove it that this LDAP container is working and properly communicating with the Nextcloud container. So yes, that is all about the Nextcloud and also the LDAP account manager. Both of these are connected properly, so that's good. Lastly, I want to just open this. Okay, so lastly, I want to just to talk a little bit about the architecture diagram or the architecture design of this whole containerization of Docker and also FreeRadius. So all of these services are running inside of Docker, or we containerized all of these services. The services are the Nextcloud, FreeRadius, MariaDB, and also OnlyOffice. So all of this is centralized and containerized on Docker. So what we have here, so from FreeRadius using LDAP, it authenticates the user that we created when we log into Nextcloud, right? And then Nextcloud also has a database, which is MariaDB, which we created on the Docker Compose itself. And Nextcloud has an app or a service called OnlyOffice to open a document. So this is the simple architecture diagram of all of this application, the Nextcloud application, running on top of Docker itself. And yeah, I think that's basically it. Let me just check, configure, login using. Yeah, I think that's everything from the diagram and also the Nextcloud, the LDAP, everything is working perfectly. Let me just log out and try to log in to the admin account. Okay, this is the admin account. So only on the admin account you can add an application from here. Yeah, it's working. Everything is good. The Radius, the LDAP, and also the Nextcloud app and Nextcloud database, everything is working properly. And I guess that's it from us. Thank you. Goodbye. Peace.